Welcome back to the true Sports Desk. To lead off today's episode, SportsDesk HQ has received anonymous video from one of the members regarding 3 conspirators who have yet to pay their dues. Here it is.
We're going to be out of the butt and into the fuck if we don't come up with that $36.
Disturbing. And now a message from our sponsors. Many of us fantasy people know the struggles of just being really crappy ourselves and not choosing a great team. They know the struggles of just life, and that's pretty much it. They just can't even bend over to put on their own socks. They just suck so much. So what is a fantasy manager even to do when they can't even salvage their own season and are just winding it up for the year? Fear not, for Fantasy Solutions has that answer. Fantasy Solutions says, don't spray yourself, spray someone else with your problems, and do what we do for just $19.99. Our advice is simple. Find some sucker to trade away all of his good players and pay them $20 to throw away their season. It'll leave the rest of the league screaming, no, as their seasons all come to an end and you become the champion. Absolutely no refunds and results may vary. Fantasy Solutions. Just give us your money already and get that illegitimate fantasy crown. After 4 wild weeks of some action, we have some standings to update. Starting with the My Boy Blue division, Topeka, I've got it, is leagues ahead. But Vigilante shit is not very far behind, and the Plowboys and Pac-2 Idaho are only 1 win away from joining the top. The number 1 and number 2 spot of the entire league resides in the cream of the crop division, with OnlyFans and Nakua Matata being the kings of the jungle. David's dazzling team hopes to join them at the top, and No Limits is just struggling to stay above water. In the Wing and a Prayer division, Cleveland Choker and Wallawood champions sit at a 3-1 record, with Machismo hoping to pull it together, and Coleman's team finally getting a win last week and staying in the race. Rounding off our division, we have the Dish Served Cold division, with all the 4 teams being cold at a 1-3 record. Cheeseballer sits atop the division, but it's anyone's game. Newcomer Hawk Tua could take the crown, or it could be rival Your Next, or even possibly Coconut's Revenge, who, even with a poor year last year, continues to be poor, but has a chance at this division.
I'll just be ice, floating through space, like a comet.
With the standings out of the way, let's take a look at some of the Week 5 matchups previously covered by Ref Landon, who did as good of a job as the refs in the Super Bowl between the Seahawks and Steelers.
Action pass. And instead it's Roethlisberger on a keeper diving, and does he get there? Yes, he does.
Impeccable, just like Landon's Sports Desk. Leading off this week's matchups, we have our 2 games of the week. Our first matchup is between Machismo and the Plowboys, followed up by Vigilante Shit and Topeka, I've Got It. In the matchup between Machismo and the Plowboys, both teams sit at a 2-2 record. So, a win here or a loss puts them above or below the 500 mark and could determine the rest of their season. Machismo is in an ultimately competitive league with Cleveland Choker sitting atop, and losing to them last week hurt a lot. So now can he rebound from that epic loss and beat the Plowboys? The Plowboys sit in a division that is all in a close, tight race. So can he get to that 3-2 record and hopefully get to the top spot of the division? He also lost an all-too-important divisional matchup to Pac-2 Idaho. So, which team can rebound from their loss and claim the victory this week? Our next game of the week matchup is between Vigilante Shit and Topeka I've Got It. This is a divisional matchup, so it is all too important to get the win. Both teams turned it around from last season, starting with a 3-0 win streak from both teams, but unfortunately last week spelled trouble for both, bringing both of their first losses. David dazzled the ever-living fuck out of Topeka I've Got It last week, outscoring by 30 whole points. It was his first win, the best win, the only win for David's dazzling team. And Vigilante Shit dropped the ball last week to Nakua Matata. Vigilante Shit had one of the top spots, but Nakua Matata took it from her, and now she looks to take it back, but she's going to have to get through Topeka I've Got It to ensure that she remains atop of the food chain. Which team will take the top and which team will go cry because their season's starting to look a lot like last year's? Let's take a look at the rest of the matchups of the week. In our first matchup, we have the number 3 Cleveland Chokers taking on the number 2 Nakua Matatas. A huge matchup. Will the Cleveland Chokers choke? Or will Nakua Matata have a little bit of the scar come and invade their territory, or whatever happened in Lion King? Ask Landon, he's the Disney freak. Next matchup, we have Hawk Tua taking on the reigning champion, Wallawood champions. Can Hawk Tua upset the balance and beat the Wallawood champions? Or will Wallawood just continue their reign of terror and take home the win? In our third matchup, we have David's dazzling team taking on No Limits. No Limits apparently has no limits, as she's the number 16 spot. Can she achieve the impossible and become the number 17th ranked? Or will she upset the balance and beat David's dazzling team, who David's dazzling team is hoping to climb up the ranks of the league, just like a San Franciscan bear climbing up the hierarchy of the San Francisco nightclubs. Who will come out on top? Or, better yet, on bottom. In our next matchup, we have OnlyFans taking on Pac-2 Idaho. OnlyFans makes it known that he is the number 1 spot.
Hey everybody, look at me, look at my glasses. Yeah. Everybody likes to stare at my glasses.
And look at him we do, because we're all hoping that the number 7 Pac-2 Idaho can take him down, so we can maybe not hear about him being number 1 for once. Brian, I beg of you, please beat him. In the first of our final 2 matchups, we have Coleman's crazy team, name pending, taking on Coconut's Revenge. Coconut's Revenge has taken revenge exactly once. So, can he take revenge twice against Coleman's crazy team, who, for some reason, the Cowboys just can't seem to pull it together? Stephen A. Smith needs to be proven wrong, because I'm tired of hearing about him on ESPN. So, Coleman, please call Dak and please call CeeDee and tell them to start performing for your team. I'm not rooting against you, Cole. I'm just rooting against Stephen A. Smith and his ramblings of dumbness. In our last matchup, we have Cheese Ballers taking on Your Next. Your Next hasn't really had anyone next, because he's only had 1 win so far. And Cheese Ballers has ran out of cheese balls, because he's also only won once. Who, in this epically bad matchup, will take home the victory and become less epically bad? Will it be Your Next, or will it be Cheese Ballers? Who in this divisional matchup will come out on top and be the smartest kid on the short bus? And that wraps up another edition of Sports Desk. I hope you enjoyed it more than Landon's abomination of a Sports Desk, because holy crap, that looked like I was in Bollywood itself. Thanks again for tuning in, and there will be no bottle calf prediction because he got the first one wrong, so he sucks. and he can't choose worth a damn. Anyway, enjoy tonight's game, enjoy this weekend's matchup, and we'll see you next week on Sports Desk.